Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 40. That's 40 of Material Issues. I'm Mark Hershberger, joining you from the East Coast, Pop Detective Records. And as always, joining us from out in the West Coast, my very good friend, Mr. David Bash. How are you tonight, David?
I'm very well, Mark. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's Wednesday night. It's 70 degrees here in South Jersey, and we've got a fantastic show on tap. What more do I want? What more do I want? Look at the smile on my face.
Yeah, this is one of the rare days where it's actually warmer in New Jersey than it is here in Southern California. One of the rare, hey Andy, one of the rare winter days, I should say, because it does happen during the summer quite often.
Right.
Yeah, it's only about 58 degrees here today. So
no, this has been fantastic.
We're all wearing our Eskimo jackets because
this is one of the days where you grab the well, it's not an iPod anymore, MP3 player or phone, and just put the headphones on and take long walks with the dog. And I've been enjoying the heck out of it, enjoying the moment.
Well, that's great.
It gives you a little taste of what spring's going to be like shortly.
And speaking of spring, the International Pop Overthrow Festival will be in full bloom in the spring as we have shows in Phoenix on April 2nd.
Right.
Chicago from April 22nd through 30th. That's right. 9 days and nights of pure pop music. And then, of course, the Pièce de Résistance in Liverpool, England from May 15th through 22nd at the world famous Cavern Club and Cavern Pub. So we've got the Phoenix and Chicago lineups up on the IPO website now, which is internationalpopoverthrow.com. So go check those out. We should have the Liverpool lineups up in about a week, maybe even less. So again, I'm just incredibly excited. The lineups we have for all three of these cities are great. And, you know, we did some shows last year, our first post-COVID shows. They went smashingly well. And, I'm just looking forward to more.
Wow, so I think a lot of people are, and people can stay tuned to your website at nationalpopoverthrow.com or here at Material Issues. There's all kinds of information we got not only on IPO, but we've got the next 6 or 7 weeks of this show already booked. So we'll talk about that later in the show. So keep tuning in, keep telling your friends. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic ride here on Material Issues.
We certainly will do that. Well, of course, IPO, the festival, was founded basically on power pop. I mean, we still feature a lot of power pop, but back then it was maybe about 80 to 90%. And what better segue than to talk about one of the quintessential power pop bands ever, Raspberries, or as I like to say, the Raspberries. I mean, I know what it's supposed to be, but I went through my teenage years and my early 20s calling them, thinking that it was the Raspberries. Once I was corrected, I just couldn't go back.
Most people couldn't, yeah.
No, but they are actually, there's no the on any of their albums, so it's just Raspberries. But never say just with Raspberries. They are in the pantheon. They would be, if there was a Power Pop Hall of Fame, which, well, there kind of is, mine and Aaron Kupferberg's, but if there was a real ceremony involved, they would be definitely in the first group to be enshrined.
They'd be kind of like the Ty Cobb to the Babe Ruth and Honus Wagner, and
they would definitely be one of those five, and so the Raspberries released 4 albums in the 70s, and the fourth one is called Starting Over, and Starting Over is thought by many Raspberries fans to be their best. One of the most noted Raspberries fans who feels that way is John Borak, who has been a guest on our show. He wrote 2 volumes of a book called Shake Some Action, the definitive guide to power pop, and in there he ranks his what he feels are the 200 best power pop albums of all time, and Starting Over is number one. Not just number one by Raspberries, but number one by anybody.
Right.
And one of the reasons for that, I think everybody would agree, is the presence of this gentleman that we're about to introduce. He joined the band not long before this album. He contributed a great deal to it, not just playing bass, but singing and writing. And it really did, complimenting Eric Carmen's tracks. It really is something special. And so is this man. I mean, I haven't corresponded with him for a while, but when we used to, it was always so much fun. He's such a nice man, very engaging, and just loaded with talent. And it's an honor for us to have him. So without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Scott McCarl.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Right. Scott McCarl of Raspberries fame. And of course, there's a great solo album we're going to talk about shortly. But Scott, how are you feeling tonight?
Terrific. Little cold for us here in LA, but
I know, isn't it crazy? It's warmer in New Jersey today.
You got short sleeves on. Huh. Yeah, it's balmy. Well, as David said, there's a lot we'd like to ask you about tonight, but I think a lot of people know you as part of that fantastic fourth and final album by Raspberries. What many people that are maybe not hardcore Raspberry fans might not realize is that you wrote or co-wrote 5 tracks on that album. And so when people talk about how great that album is, they got to understand that you're such a big part of it.
Yeah, I had a hand in that. Yeah,
you had a little hand. Yeah. But I'm remiss because I should have mentioned in the introduction that your solo album from 1998, Play On, is being reissued. Not in the same configuration. So just for those of you who already have Play On and think, oh, I don't need to get the reissue. Yeah, you do. Because there's going to be some new songs on there and different bonus tracks. So, and which label is it coming out on?
Liberation Hall.
Liberation Hall, yeah. And they've got a lot of really cool stuff coming up as well. They've got a Knack live album. Tony Hazard, who's going to be a guest of ours in a few weeks, his album, all kinds of cool stuff. But yeah, some new tracks, some new bonus tracks. It's going to be very, very cool. We're all looking forward to that. Indeed. So maybe we should start with that. There's some new tracks, as I mentioned. When did you record those?
Over the last year. I did them in LA with a friend of mine who you'll be meeting.
Yes.
And I thought if I'm going to do a reissue of it, that it really should have something that you couldn't get before. So there's, on the CD anyway, there'll be a total of 4 things that no one's heard.
Wow, awesome.
Wait,
awesome.
So there's going to be an LP as well?
An LP, but they're apparently tied up in all kinds of problems having to do with COVID and supply issues and things. And I don't think that'll be till mid to late summer, but I think about the 1st of April, this CD will come out, which I'm happiest about because it actually has a couple more tracks than the LP is able to hold.
Right.
It's got 13 in total.
Which is exactly why CDs need to remain in our sphere.
Yeah,
talking about how they're inessential again. They're dinosaurs. Not at all. They hold more music, and sometimes you need that. So,
Scott, will there be anything additional as far as the booklet is concerned with the reissue? Any additional?
The one that I did 20 years ago with Tom Sorrells, that was such an extensive booklet.
It really was. Yeah.
It's got really great lines too.
Yeah, look at that. I tried to write some things that hadn't been on that,
right?
But that was quite extensive. It was done in Britain, and they went all out on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of why I asked. I knew it was quite the package when you originally put it out. With 4 additional tracks and some more information, I didn't know if you updated that whatsoever. But CD is fantastic. Looking forward to it. And of course, one of these days, as far as the supply chain is concerned, we'll get the LP out as well. But
yeah, that's the issue.
So,
yeah.
As this man would say, let's start from the beginning, shall we? You were born and raised in Kansas City.
I was,
and
suburban Kansas City,
and of course, you were just about the right age so that when the Beatles appeared on Ed Sullivan, it meant a lot.
Couldn't have been better. Couldn't have been better. I was a 13-year-old kid.
Oh my God, perfect!
Just a sponge waiting for the right thing or things, and that was it.
As it was for so many people. Is that when you decided that you were going to become a musician, join a band?
I had liked listening to the radio before that, but I'd never given thought to being in a band or anything. And I didn't really get in a serious band for some time after that. I think I was on a learning curve for about 5 years with those Beatles records and all those great British records, all this stuff that was on the radio, 64 and 5 and 6, and just getting up to speed with how you do that, you know?
What were you playing at the time? Were you playing guitar at all, or bass or piano, keyboards, that you were learning the basics?
I'd always known a bit of piano, but for guitar, which I spent most of my time on to learn Beatles songs and things, I had my sister's regular right-handed guitar, and I'm a lefty.
Right.
And she wouldn't let me change the strings on it. No, I want to be able to play the singing nun on it and all that stuff, you know. Okay. So I just flipped it over and learned that way with the strings as they are. I've discovered over the years that there are other people that do it, but I had to be about the only one ever. You know, all the chord formations changed. They're all gnarly and weird and stuff, but it was that's what I had to do. And so that's what I did, because I didn't have my own guitar for years. And then when I got my own guitar, I had to turn it around silly like that, because now that's what I'm used to.
I've seen a few bass players who have learned to play by flipping it, and they didn't change the strings, so everything is
exactly the way it happened.
A little opposite as far as that. It blows my mind to think that you're learning chords upside down and backwards on a guitar, because that's the only way you could do it at the time.
There's great lead players like that. Albert King played like
that.
Yes. Dick Dale played that way.
Right. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, Scott, is Hastings Record Center still around?
Hastings Record Center? No, I don't know. I don't think so.
We got a little comment just came in from Chelsea Phillips. Said she's a lifelong fan of you and the Berries and thrilled to see you tonight.
Hi,
she often plays "I Can Hardly Believe It, You're Mine" on my oldies show. It totally rocks. So thank you, Chelsea, for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks, Chelsea.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So what was your first band?
First band, Yellow Hair.
So Yellow Hair was your first band? Okay.
Yeah, it was. And by that time, I'd moved a few hours north to Omaha, and so that's where that band kind of had its hub. Lasted about 18 months. Great stuff.
Well,
Just
I have to say,
things we
what
loved.
I've heard.
Sorry, Suzanne, and all the things that we loved, you know.
The stuff I've heard, like Somewhere, which could certainly be on any 60s comp. And I know that you guys probably don't like what Bell Records did to I Want to Be Free, but I like it. And I have to ask you something about that, because I don't know if it was your decision or Tom Sorrell's or Jeff Chandler, not the movie star, but your band member, to change the line in I Want to Be Free to I Want to Shake Your Hand. I found that really interesting when I first heard that. What was that about?
I kind of liked that. And what happened there was Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart had written new lyrics for that song. I don't know if it was especially for us on Bell or not. It could have been, but they sent us an acetate with the words on it, and he was sitting there singing it. And we were to learn that, and that's what Bell wanted us to do. So we went with those new words on that.
Wow.
Isn't it interesting? The song had only been out for about 3 years since the Monkees did it, but already they had some new lyrics they thought were fresher. So that's what we did.
Wow.
I was wondering if it might have had to do with the fact that the Beatles were so known for I Want to Hold Your Hand, that maybe they didn't want to be connected to that. But it's I always found it interesting. How did you get signed to Bell? Because that's a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there were 2 recording studios in Omaha, There was the big fancy one where everybody went, big budget, bright lights, all that stuff, the greatest equipment. But we went to the little one, the other one that probably hardly anyone knew about. Felt very comfortable there with the people there. And one of the guys that managed it wanted to manage us after he'd heard us record Somewhere and the other things we did. And so he said, I'll go to New York and see if I can get your record deal. And he got that Bell deal for us.
Wow. Which is amazing. We say this a lot of shows. We interview, artists from the 50s, 60s, or early 70s. And we walked into the label with the tape and they signed us. It's like, that doesn't happen anymore today. And we find these stories fascinating. It's like, I'm just going to go up to New York and I'll be back with the deal. And it's like, boom, Bell Records. Which
I should have worn my Bell Records T-shirt today. I wanted to wear a special shirt, and I had that one. And I forgot.
Way to go! But I know there's a lot more to it, but it's just a different world these days as far as anything's concerned. But as David said, getting signed to Bell, right from that is a big deal. A big deal.
But we had to do what they wanted us to do, so we cut that Monkey song. I just at the time and to this day, I think that Davy Jones that's it. That's the version right there. Yeah. I never thought it could be topped, but that's what they asked us to try.
Right. Yeah. Which is interesting. Wow.
Well, as I said, I liked it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's awesome. So Yellow Hair was around 18 months, you said? Did you play a lot live? Did you have any kind of regional touring or what was that? What was that all about?
I just played that Midwest area.
Midwest. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any notable acts you opened for? Anything early on in your career that?
No, nothing like that comes to mind. The fun thing about that was that the band was formed kind of in between Kansas City and Omaha in a town called St. Joseph, Missouri. That's where Tom Sorrells was living. My friend who.
Hey Tom, I believe you're watching now. So.
Hey Tom. And so we formed it there in the summer of '69. Somebody wrote a song about that. I wish I'd have done that because that's when it happened. But there was this little club, and I don't know quite how that came about. But the guy said, "Yeah, you can play here. We'll give you each $1 a man a night." And we said, "Great!" And which kind of was our club, the Club Regal in downtown St. Joseph. Not a lot of people came there. We built it up a bit as it went. But it was like our Hamburg or something. It enabled us to just go in there day and night as much as we wanted, get better, try this, try that, try this out on the crowd that night. And it was wonderful.
And just play. Yeah.
Everybody should be so lucky to have a deal like that.
Yeah.
So why did the band break up?
I moved on from it and it had just gotten kind of stale. And I'm not sure that looking back, I'm not sure we really knew how to be a band. Do you know what I mean? Like put into it, keep it alive. Don't let people get cocky or egos and this or that. You're all in it together. Like watching Get Back, I noticed that the Beatles were able to pull that back out again after all that time. They were, what they started with and what they'd always had. When they needed it, they could get it again. Right. And Yellow Hair was an instance of it just was slipping away.
Yeah.
Did you like Get Back?
What happens next? Were you? I know you recorded a few more things. What happens between the time you contact Eric Carmen between Yellow Hair and the time you contact Eric?
After Yellow Hair, I joined a band that was out of Virginia Beach. So I went halfway across the country to be with those guys, and they toured around, and it was more lounge than rock and roll, but more stage experience and stuff. And then when I thought that I wasn't fit for that any longer and there was something else I really wanted to do than that, I left that and made a little tape of songs that I'd written during that time, just on acoustic, me and acoustic. I probably should have done better than that, but it was just like singer-songwriter, and sent it off. I sent it off to Eric Carmen because by that time I'd heard Go All the Way and I Want to Be With You. I just heard that in the Arby's and I'm, oh man, that's great. This guy will understand. So I sent it off to him and about 3 months went by and nothing. And I thought, well, that's just one of those threads that there's nothing at the other end of it and whatever, And bam, he calls up one night. I love the tape. That stuff's great. I especially love that one song. It was called Don't Make Me Sad. He said, listen, let's keep in touch. You just never know. I'm thinking about maybe producing you, whatever. Yeah. So that went on for a number of months. But when I'd sent him the tape, I'd written a little note, not long, just a couple of lines. And at the end, I said, P.S. If the bass player ever quits, call me.
Yeah, another part of that story, though, that I read in the notes is that initially your dad had answered the phone, thought it was a prank, and hung up on him.
That's true. I was out at a club, and my dad being my dad, Eric says, well, this is Eric Carmen of the Raspberries. I'd like to speak to Scott. Oh, this is Harry of the Grapes. I'm not sure I can help you. You know? And I came on and when I heard that, I said, oh, he'll never call back, but he did.
You were that close. You were that close, thanks to your dad, to never having had that happen to you.
Yeah. What if you've been put off by that? But
it's funny. I was talking to David prior to coming on the show tonight, and I said, I really don't know much of the backstory of how Scott got into Raspberries. All of a sudden, it's just he's there for album number 4. So that is really interesting that you're sending tapes everywhere, and you decided to send a tape to Eric Carmen. I mean, the little things in life that just make such huge changes, and the fact that he listened to it and enjoyed it enough to call you up. It's just
it seems very old-fashioned, doesn't it?
But it does seem very old-fashioned.
That's what you had to do back then, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's it's just neat stories that lend people down a certain road that any tiny little thing could have turned that sideways, like your dad answering the thing saying yes, and then Eric saying, well, that's enough of that, I'm done with that. But it's just interesting. It's such a cool story.
So ultimately you do get invited up to Cleveland?
I did, and got off the plane, and Eric and Wally were standing there in stage gear. Wow. Oh man, this is cool. I've got my Hofner in the case. But it was the funniest audition, really, because we just went to Eric's place, sat around talking, sang a couple of Beatles songs for fun, told some stories, rode around in the car that night laughing and this and that. Nothing formal at all. At the end of the time, they said, look, this is great. And probably things had gotten sour with them, the band as a whole. And just like I was talking about Yellowhair having done. And I think they were looking for something a little different. And I happened to be just right for it. Because
it's crazy. Raspberries, they had a modicum of success. They were on television. They were to a point, a certain level, and you show up and it's like, yeah, let's just hang out and chill, and hey, this is cool. Let's go this direction. It's nothing that formal. No worldwide auditions to find.
I didn't know what I would be put through, but it was the simplest little thing. And I thought, yeah, this feels better than the other thing feels.
How many of the songs on the demo you sent him ended up being on Starting Over?
On that little demo,
that
I sent Eric, 0.
Oh, wow.
Others, yeah. At one point he said, "Well, why don't you play me what you've got?" And I said, "All right." And I had Play On. I played him that one. Oh yeah, let's see what we can do with that. And so we got going on that, and then when that was done, that went so well that it was like, play me something else. And the next one I happened to play for him was a song called Cry, and I had the first verse of Cry the way that you maybe know it, and nothing else. And he started putting in the loud part, and it's just, we had a great working relationship that way. Just the kind you look for in a songwriting partner. So I've had others, and it's just bam.
It's immediately clicked. Yeah.
I got to ask about recording the album. Not only are the songs, they're a little bit heavier in some ways. There's some power ballads and things, but the harmonies are so good. Which Raspberries were always known for good harmonies, but particularly that album is so good. How much work did you put into the harmonies and figuring out what to sing and really getting them down, or wasn't it work at all, or was it just come so easily?
We worked at it quite a bit.
Yeah,
there was a lot of rehearsal went on to get that stuff right.
Yeah.
And we didn't try a ton of different harmonies. It just seemed like this is what fits. Okay, great, we'll go with that. But I remember we played it all for Jimmy Einer, the producer. He came to hear us. We happened to be in Los Angeles, and he maybe had business or flew out and listened to us at SIR, on a stage, played through the stuff, poured our hearts into it, because this is the time the producer's finally going to meet me and Mike McBride and hear these new songs and see what he thinks. He said, that was the worst thing I ever heard. And walked out.
Whoa.
And it was just like this silence, just like that. And Eric and Wally are looking at each other. Did we make a terrible mistake? All the things what I'm thinking that, and I'm going, oh my God, I'll never be good enough for whatever it is he's looking for. And he did it as a psychological ploy to get us to try a little harder. And we did. And he was happy with it.
Wow. Yeah.
Try a little harder because you don't want to say goodbye. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, we all thought we were in trouble, but we just needed to push a little bit more.
That's interesting. Yeah, you guys are thinking that's a wrap, and but a little fire, so to speak. Yeah.
Is that where did rose-colored glasses come out of that?
Rose-colored glasses. I was staying with Wally when I first got there, and I wrote that in the basement of his house on a Wurlitzer electric piano. And now I look back and go, why did you even bother to write a slow song for a great rock band like this about yourself and not a relationship, which all their songs are about? And I would have thought, well, of course they're going to hate it. And everybody said, great, well, let's put that on there. Just maybe as an introduction to me, or I don't know what anyone thought of it.
I think it's one of the Raspberries' best songs. And,
thank you.
Certainly one of yours, and it reminds me a lot of Emmett Rhodes, and I know that you sent some demos out to him as well.
I did. When I sent that tape to Eric, I sent one to Todd, and I sent one to Emmett. And Emmett I never heard from. Todd I called and actually spoke with. I think he was in a studio. He says, well, my publisher knows a good song. If he likes it, we'll talk about it. And that's as far as that went. But he's, nice enough guy, but he just was doing something else. And luckily for me, I thought, well, that was a bust. Let's see, what'll I do next? And then, bam, Eric called me. Wonderful.
Well, it's a good thing he did. And you were talking about songs about relationships, and of course, Starting Over has a few songs about being a rock and roller on one respect or one aspect or another. One song that I wonder, what do you about Hands on You? Do you think that could actually be played now in the sort of PC world that we live in?
I suppose not. Well, I suppose there's plenty of songs like that. Why didn't anybody edit that stuff? I don't know
why. We're kind of glad they didn't, but
yeah. Oh, it's a different world. Yeah,
there was FM radio then. You could play whatever you wanted. So.
Yeah.
Was there any truth to the rumor that has been written about Overnight Sensation and Lennon having an interest in it?
Oh, he loved that song. He loved our stuff. He stuck his head in the door now and then. How's it going? That one sounds good, because you could hear through the door somewhat.
Right.
And he was there, as you probably know, to work with Nilsson. Otherwise, we never would have met. But, yeah, how cool is that? Well, we weren't around for the mix. We were just like the Beatles at the beginning, weren't around for the mix. The Raspberries never were. And that's when he got really involved. Because I think Jimmy Einer said, wow, we need like 8 hands on the thing. And John, I'll do it. And so he was in there mixing along with the other people.
So Raspberries were not around for mixing at all?
No.
Wow.
I just remembered when you're talking about John that somebody said, I think we're going to get John to sing along with you on Cry. I remember somebody telling me that. I thought, wow. And they probably thought in the end, no, that's silly. Why would you do something like that? Let it stand on its own.
That amazes me that especially someone like Eric or Wally, so hands-on that once it was recorded, they weren't involved with mixing the album, which is that's amazing. That's something. That's I wouldn't have thought.
yeah, we just walked away and figured it'd be great.
Because the mix can change things dramatically from what your original vision is. Wow, that's crazy. But
tell us a little bit about some of your favorite shows with Raspberries. I know that there was a Central Park one where John Lennon actually introduced you to the crowd.
He did, yeah.
Tell us about some of the ones that really stand out for you.
Well, that one was neat because it was a spring day in Central Park, free show. Gosh, the only band I can remember now that was on it along with us was the Chambers Brothers. What an interesting lineup. But they were great guys. We hung around with them. And John and Nilsson came up and introduced us before we went on. I guess because we'd gotten to be a little bit tight at the record plant. That was a real neat day.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Any others that come to mind?
Well, if I had to choose one gig that was my favorite gig with them of all, it'd be the first night. Just finally, I'm playing the bass on these songs. And when he says, go all the way, I'm going to go, the harmony part. And I'd say, wow, this is so cool. And we were lucky we were in a place that they really liked us, someplace down in Kentucky. And if that had been the only one, that would have been good enough, But
wow.
I remember we played at Disney World very shortly after it opened on the Tomorrowland stage that comes up out of the ground. As you start playing, you can hear them and then you can see them. And it was right on New Year's. So that was a fun gig too.
Is there a lot of video that exists of you playing with them live? I haven't seen that much.
Don Kirshner's rock concert.
Yeah.
No, there was some footage filmed of us rehearsing.
Yeah.
But you're right; it is kind of scarce.
Yeah, surprisingly so. But
much less than the first band.
Yeah.
Lineup of Raspberries did quite a few things, Midnight Special and this, and that, and the other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and that's kind of reflective about maybe what Capitol Records was thinking at the time, that maybe this band has run its course a little bit. And I know that was sort of a feeling that was pervasive. And, as much as I know you loved to play some of those gigs, it was sort of bittersweet for you, right? Because there was some infighting between Eric and Wally in particular, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know where that was coming from, why that had built up the way that it had. But they're just so different as personalities. Just so different. Very much like a John and Paul type of dichotomy in the personalities there. And that, they'd already been together, 3 years at least.
Yeah.
With their ups and downs. And we gave it a little bit longer. Did one more record.
Well, they were a talented duo in many ways, and you pour your heart out and give it all for 3 years, and it can be frustrating, even though the fresh blood, so to speak, coming and with starting over was incredibly talented and led to some fantastic music. I think what did it peak at? I wrote down it peaked at 143 on Billboard. Overnight Sensation hit 18. It had a little bit of fire, but not much anything.
Not much. Yeah.
It's gained a lot more.
It's a shame that Play On wasn't released as a single. I think it could have done well.
Yeah, there was talk about that. I'm not sure why it never happened, but I would have loved it. Oh, I loved it.
So yeah, how did I hate bringing up bad memories, but you got to join one of the bands of your dreams, and you're playing gigs and Overnight Sensations on the radio, and it's all happening, and then things are starting to unravel. That must have been tough for you.
It was much more up down. My personality is happy with, down, up, down. But that's okay. The ups were something else.
Yeah,
that's great. I'm glad that's what you're taking with you. So after Raspberries sadly broke up, what's next for you?
What did I do after that? I spent about 10 years playing clubs in LA and recorded here and there. One of the ones on the new record will be during that time. And just looking for that thing to happen, but it didn't really happen. But I'm the sort of musician, I was pretty happy to be making a paycheck because I knew guys that were sleeping on floors and couches and all that. And playing the clubs, pay to play, which went on, at clubs in Hollywood. And
Yeah, in the mid '80s, I guess that started with a lot of the hair bands and things.
Yeah.
Somebody just checked in, Scott, wanted to know if you still have stayed in touch with Eric and Wally over the years since.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Nice.
Especially Wall. I've talked to Wall quite a bit. Not lately, though. I really should give him a call. But
Wally was there in '98 with you when you were out in LA at the Poptopia Festival,
Yeah.
where you did the CD release for Play On. It was a pleasure for me to meet him at that time. So, you know, you had stayed in touch and had remained friends, which is wonderful.
You know what I had a lot of fun with came just after that. We said, let's just do something else. And so we did a one night gig in Cleveland that summer of '98, where it was Wally and I asked Dave and Jim from the original Raspberries, who I'd never met or known, if they would possibly play a gig with me. And it was wonderful. We became friends and everything. I wouldn't have known that would happen, but I always wanted it to happen because I love those guys.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that was magic.
And I also read that you were. Go ahead. I was going to say you were very, very humble whenever the Raspberries reunion came around, and it was the original members that did that. And you're basically saying, listen, it's their ball game. I get it. You know, more power to them. And
absolutely,
which I think is wonderful. And just
that was very humble. Yeah, I mean, I feel, and I know you don't want to comment on this, but I mean, they should have had you and Michael, but you know, I'm glad you were the type to say, you know, it should be the original four and not us. And some people might have acted differently, but that is wonderful that you felt that way.
And well, let's talk about Play On a little bit. We've got another.
Well, before we do that, Mark, if it's okay, I wanted to ask you. You almost joined the band Tattoo, which had Wally Bryson and Tom Mooney from Nas, right back in like what '77.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tom Mooney, nice guy. It's just when I had first gotten to LA, and Wally asked if I would join, but for whatever reason, it just didn't feel right. Not because of him or anything that was going on. I guess I was looking for my own thing. I think I was looking for that more.
And were you actually an official member of Glider with Ted Myers, or did you just play on the record?
I played on the record, but by the time we'd done all that, Ted was like jumping up and down saying, you guys are the band. You guys are do you want to be? Let's go out on the road. Oh, sure, we'll do it. But with whatever record company things, it didn't come about. Nice guy, though. And he had good songs.
I know Ted. He really is. All right. So maybe we should bring on your partner in crime now with respect to Play On. Played guitar with you, did some production for you, working with you right now. And pardon?
A Clevelander.
Another Clevelander you work with. And so he's now living in the San Fernando Valley, as am I, and it's going to be real pleasure for us to get to know him. So, would you please give a huge welcome to Michael Perkheiser.
Good evening, Michael.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. It's great to see you guys.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Outstanding. Well, let's talk about Play On a little bit, Scott, and get into the reasons why that. In 1998, that was something that you felt this is what I'm going to do. This solo album.
How'd that come about? You mean?
Yeah. How'd it come about?
Ooh. I hadn't been doing anything in about 5 or 6 years, and I get a call from Ken Sharp, who you've probably heard of Ken.
We know.
Yeah. His latest thing is I think he wants to do a 50th anniversary Raspberries tribute record.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know how far along it is or anything, but what a cool thing.
Yeah.
Ken got in touch with me and he was doing a book and he wanted to talk to me. He was talking to all of us. He said, no, you guys were great. You know, this stuff's really whatever. You got me a little bit fired up. And so I said,
good Ken impression.
What should I do? What song should I do? And I decided, I know what I'll do. I'll do the one song that Eric Carmen always said, if you'd have been there, you'd have sung that one, Nobody Knows, that I had on album number 2. So, well, I'll take a crack at that. So that's the first thing I did to get the Play On album on its way. And then it just grew from there. And I said, well, that was so much fun. Maybe I'll do some more stuff. Well, a year later, I came back with Michael and everybody in Cleveland and stayed a month. And we put together a ton of the tracks that were on it. And a couple of people out here, the Rubinoos, helped me on a few of the tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Fun guys. And we just put it out. And then right toward the end of it, we were lucky enough that a company in Britain, RPM Records, Cherry Red, wanted to be able to put it out outside the U.S. and said that they would do the mastering and artwork if we would agree to that. So Tom and I, who were putting this together, said yes and went over to England and had a fun week and got the mastering and artwork together and stuff. It's great. But
Tom Sorrell,
I wanted to do it on Titan Records.
Titan, yes.
It's like I was putting all these songs together and I said, you know what, now I got to go look for a record deal, somebody that wants to put this out. I thought, I know what I really want to do, and I don't know what he's going to do when I tell him, but Tom Sorrell's my old friend, still friend, from when we were about before the Beatles. Wow. He had a record label 75 to 85 right in there called Titan Records in the Midwest where we both were living. And that had been defunct for years. And I said, maybe I can get him to do the only CD he's ever done on Titan, him and me together, the yellow-haired drummer. Tom, I called him up. I think it was on his birthday. I thought I'll stack the deck as high as I can get it. Tom, happy birthday. Hey, would you help me with the deck? Then he thought about, well, yeah, I guess I could do that. So that was our project, that album. So it wasn't just any old thing. It was a lot of fun recording sessions with Michael, all the Cleveland guys, the Rubinoos, and my old friend. Let's do this. Let's write about this. It was wonderful. I was glad it was well received. I did it just for fun.
Michael, how did you get involved, Michael? What was your role and how did you get involved with Scott and Play On?
The bass player of one of my bands was the one that had contacted Scott about doing some recording, doing some things together, and then he had contacted me because he needed an engineer, and I was thrilled. It was like, I got to say, it's like Scott played. I went and saw the Raspberries in '74, and he played one of my all-time favorite shows. It's like top 10, absolutely. So I was thrilled to be part of it, and still thrilled to be working with him. And anyway, they needed an engineer, so I came in and started engineering for him. And I play guitar, so there was some of the tracks where it's like, can you play some guitar in some of these tracks? And it just gelled. It just worked out really, really well.
So you really didn't know Scott that much prior to that?
I had met Scott at Brent, the one guy that was in my band. We had went out to California on a trip, and we met Scott at a club once. Went and saw him play. I think that was in the 80s. Yeah, it was. It was 1980. But no, previous to that, I didn't know him. I knew who he was, but I didn't know him personally.
I knew of you because of your Cleveland band, The Action. You guys heard those records?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I did not know you were part of The Action. Now I'm even happier to meet you.
Thank you.
I didn't know either. Wow, The Action, cool.
I just wanted to throw in, for those people who are listening who aren't aware of Titan Records, you really should be. They have compilations out of some of the best, obscure 70s power pop bands that should have been bigger, like Gary Charlson and The Boys and Arliss. Just really great stuff. And then the Numero Group got involved with putting out a Titan Records compilation about 15 years ago, which you really should find. It's tremendous stuff. I wanted to mention one song in particular on Play On, because it's one that left an indelible mark on me, and that's In Love Without a Girl. It's an amazing concept that how did you come about writing that song? I love that whole idea.
I don't know. Cute little turn twist there, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure it was the phrase first, and then, okay, yeah, I'll make a song out of this. Yeah,
somebody wrote in, Ted Myers said he wanted to know if we talked about Glider. We talked about that.
We did, Ted.
Yes, thank you, Ted. Yeah, but you can always go back to the archives and check out those moments too. But thank you.
Ted, let's have lunch sometime soon. And that's not just a Hollywood lunch thing. I really would love to get back together with you. I think we had lunch like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And we need to do it again.
Well, Michael, everybody says Scott still has it vocally. What are your opinions?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Great.
Careful,
great
vocalist,
great guitar player, great, wonderful. Just absolutely wonderful. Yeah, we had a ball together recording. It was a lot of fun, and like I say, it was an honor, and hope to do some more recording sometime.
At first, it was going to be in a studio, and I said, "Mike, will you go in the studio with me?" But he very wise. I was lucky because he's got the gear at home, and the time, and the desire, and he said, "You'll go in the studio, and you'll go in there for 5 hours and spend so and so much money, and walk out and go, gee, I wish I'd have done it this way or whatever." At home, you can make all those changes. You can back up for a week, see what you think about what you did. So luckily, he talked me out of that, and we got to pal around in his bedroom studio.
Or at right now.
Yeah.
Where he's at right now. Yeah, I see a guitar cases in the back.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. We,
are you guys looking to play this album live?
I'm sorry?
No.
Are you guys looking to play out in support of it?
No, that's something I haven't really thought seriously about doing, but if I don't watch out, I may get talked into it by somebody.
I'm going to try to talk you into it. I'm going to try and talk you into playing your first show at IPO this summer. So
wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, I'm going to be bugging you, Scott.
I can't believe you're getting to see the world with IPO. That must be wonderful.
Yeah, it has been, especially the Cavern Club, which is a place, if you've never been, you need to go there. And you guys are definitely invited to IPO Liverpool. Whenever you decide you want to play, we do it every May. And that's, it's an open invitation.
I'll tell you what, Scott McCarl coming to the Cavern with a band that would blow the roof into that place. Yeah.
Not only that, but you'd have a lot of fans there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There'd be people coming up to you wanting to autograph copies of Play On and Starting Over. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the Mona Lisa Twins over there?
Yes, the Mona Lisa Twins did play IPO a couple of times.
Cool.
Yeah, they're still going strong. They're actually going stronger. They've got quite a following now.
Yeah, they're doing very well. Yeah, we're trying to get them on a future broadcast of Material Issues.
It's true.
Yeah. We'd love to talk to them. But
so tell us about some of the new songs, because obviously we haven't heard them, and they're not on the original version. Yeah.
Well, one of them, for some reason, I wrote about something that I think has been very rarely written about over the years, the Beatles. Now, I'll stop for a second and let you think about, well, what's that song going to be like? Is that going to be real serious about, they meant so much to me? No, not really. It's kind of a Ballad of John and Yoko feel. It's lighthearted, and it's written from the standpoint, maybe you'll like this, David, of a kid in the cavern in about 62 going, these guys are going to make it. They're just great. And they're doing it right.
Wow. Okay.
They're doing it right. They're doing it right. So that's
what else do you want to reveal about other songs?
One of the songs was written by one of the guys in Yellow Hair, the 4-piece band, just a Beatles setup band, that first band of mine. And he's the only one passed away at this point. And he was a great singer, and we did some demos of some of his songs. But this one never saw the light of day. So I thought, well, in Ted's honor, in Ted's memory, I'll do Like Nobody Can. And that's one of the songs that's on there. Real sweet little song. You'll like it. Pop song.
Very well.
And we'll see how that goes. And I did One of them's on there is from 1984. Some sessions I did in '84. A song called "Suspicious." The fun thing about that song now, looking back to me, is that the girl whom I was suspicious of is on it with me.
Oh no!
Yeah, so every time I sing the chorus and go "suspicious," you hear a voice going "suspicious." Oh,
wow.
That's her.
That's her.
Turns out I was right.
And isn't there a cover, a special cover on the new album as well?
Yeah, made a new one. Yeah, some pictures that I don't think you've seen anywhere.
Oh no, I meant a cover version or a remake of a classic.
Oh
song.
yeah, the fourth one, which I'll get to now, is me covering "Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying."
Yeah.
Pretty straight ahead. Don't expect anything fancy on that one, but I've always loved the song. Tommy Dunbar, the Rubenu, says you'd sing that great. Let's try that. So I did that with them.
You did. You did. It's a killer version.
Yeah, those are the ones that no one's heard of.
Well, Scott has such a great voice. When Play On came out, it was just fantastic. And as Michael can pertain to it, you still got it. So I can't wait for the new CD. What's the ETA? When's the release? When's the release date?
I think 1st of April.
1st of April.
And that's not April Fool's. That's true.
Oh dear. Maybe I should have them change that.
Yeah, it's not actually real, David. It's April 1st. Yeah, there's no CD coming out. and Michael doesn't exist. He's an avatar that we just brought onto the show.
Right.
In fact, this whole interview is just a dream that all of you out there.
None of us are here tonight.
Amazing how you're all having it simultaneously.
I've enjoyed listening to the two of you speak about Klaatu. Speaking of that T-shirt you got on.
Oh yeah, indeed. Friends of mine. Yeah.
That was so interesting when they came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They were great. Great band. And I've had the pleasure, as have Mark, although at different times, of meeting all of them. So
cool.
Which if you're a Beatles fan, or if you're a Raspberries fan, or harmonies and great melodic tunes, I mean, Klaatu was right there with the best of them. And
I asked you a little earlier, but I don't think you heard me. What did you think of the Get Back series?
I loved it. I mean, I really enjoyed it. From everything you always thought about or knew about Get Back, that recording of that was just them throwing daggers at each other, and they hated being there, and that was the whole perception that they put out there. But seeing it completely different, I think was mind opening to that whole process. Because as you said, when they had to go back into it, when they had to get back to who they were, they could. I thought it was amazing.
For me, it was. The footage was so clear.
Yeah.
That it really felt like I had somehow gone back in time and I was sitting there while it was happening and became privy to something that the rest of the world didn't know. It's like all this stuff is unfolding and I'm sitting there watching it. And it really, I've never felt that way in a documentary before until Get Back. It was so well done and so real that I really did feel like I was experiencing something that was just happening for the first time.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any footage of any other band of that era, of that renown, that could hold a candle to what they did, and all that those hours and hours of footage that they filmed, and to bring it back in such crisp quality is just amazing. It's amazing that is what it is.
It's funny because I was going to tell you something. I worked for a lot of Beatles tribute bands over the years, usually as a front of house engineer and whatnot. And when I saw that, it's like that video is like so pristine, like you were just there. Yeah. I remember I keep thinking, it was just like, these guys are really good Beatles tribute bands. It was like you could reach out and touch them, which is unbelievable to think that. No, that's the real thing. I mean, they're just, you're sitting in on the real thing. It did not look like 1969 to me at all. You know, it looked like 2 months ago or something.
It really did. Michael, did you ever take any tribute bands to Beatles Week at the Cavern Club?
Yeah, I did. There was a band called 1964, The Tribute.
Well, we know Graham Alexander very well, and I know Mark Benson very well. Yeah,
Mark's a good friend. We grew up together, and we went there, and it was really an interesting trip because I'm an amp builder and a guitar amp builder, and they had me. One of the things they wanted to do was recreate the Beatles in the cavern. So we actually I was tasked with making some amps that looked just like their amps, the coffin case, the coffin cabinet of McCartney's. I built one just like that, and it was like we shipped it over, and we did a show there at like noon, and it was really cool. In fact, it was kind of touching. A real quick story. There were two guys sitting at this one table, and the band was playing away, and one guy was like in tears. He was like sobbing. It's like Mark went up to him afterwards and said, "Are you okay? Is there anything wrong?" He goes, "I was here, like when the Beatles were like playing." He goes, "You guys are like nailing it with the equipment and everything." It was really touching just to see this guy.
Cool.
You know,
that is something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm actually a 1964 fan club member, number 21.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Tells you how long I've been following them. I saw one of their first shows when they came to Reading, PA, and they did like 2.5 hours without changing outfit. What's that? 1980. I'm going to go 84, 85.
Okay. Right at the beginning. Yeah,
right at the beginning. And they did 2.5 hours without changing outfits. This wasn't, this was like, 1964, what they would have played 64 and prior. And I got front row, and I just sat there going like, because they were just something else.
Yeah.
I do have something in front of me, and I know the FBI is going to start swooping down with a SWAT team here. But yes, these are demos of Starting Over that I got from a good friend of yours and mine, Scott. I won't mention his name in case we get shut down here.
Demos.
These are really cool demos. They're they're very realized, but not fully produced. So I know I'm going to get hit up for copies of this thing. But, so speaking of demos, one thing I wanted to ask: there's obviously some yellow hair stuff that never saw the light of day. There's stuff that you've done that's never seen the light of day. Do you think there might be some interest in a compilation of those things? I would certainly want it out.
Really?
Oh yeah. I'll direct some labels if you have any interest in that. Absolutely.
When I did the album with Tom Sorrells 20 some years ago, and it had 17 tracks on it, and it ran from 10 new ones through the old ones all the way down to Somewhere, which started everything out for me. And I really had second thoughts about whether to put that older stuff on there, and nobody's going to want to hear that. So I don't. My mind doesn't work that way with the old things. They seem like, or they're not done as well as they could be, or this and that. But you're right. With other bands, I find stuff like that interesting.
There you go.
And musicians almost never think that they always underestimate how many people care about their older work.
Yeah.
Like, oh, nobody wants to hear that. It's like, well, yeah, actually we do. But we're really looking forward to the new album, Scott and Michael. So April 1st, we'll seriously look for the release. And it's already really, really exciting. And we want to thank you both for being on with us.
Yeah, indeed.
I'm a fan.
An absolute thrill to have you guys on here tonight. With Material Issues, we try to pull out some things that really mean a lot to us, David and I, and we try to also keep it a little different and interesting. And every show we sign off and go, "Wow, that was fantastic." So I'm going to say this live before we sign off. Wow, that was fantastic. Thank you.
Really was. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much.
Nice seeing you, David.
You too, Scott. Let's both of you. Let's the three of us get together for lunch.
Absolutely. We're all in LA.
Great.
You got it.
All right, guys, have a great night. Thank you so much. We're going to send you off the screen, but we will talk to you soon. Everybody, look forward to the reissue with bonus tracks of Play On from Scott McCarl, featuring Michael Pergheiser on guitar and production work and everything else wonderful. Guys, have a great night. Be happy, be healthy.
Thank you again so much.
Thanks a lot.
Same to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, David.
Yes, that was another wonderful episode.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a wonderful episode, and it's just great working with people who like to talk. Scott isn't as effusive as some of the other guests we've had, but he certainly was very happy to talk about what he's done and what he's doing. And
he's just
a nice man.
Such
a charming guy.
Yeah, it's hard to find a word. Sometimes I know I use the word humble as far as what is, but affable,
yes,
respectful of how he got to where he got, and even though there were tremendous lows, as he said, there were also tremendous highs.
It's
and
great that's what he took.
Exactly.
That he's
Exactly.
taken with it, because
I always say enjoy the moment. I try to enjoy the moment every day, and it comes around to shows like this and hanging out with you, my friend, and talking to wonderful musicians or artists, actors, actresses, that what we do. And I'm grateful and I enjoy the moment. Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah, me too. And speaking of wonderful guests, we have quite a few of them coming up,
yes,
including a couple that I don't think I mentioned last week because I don't think they were scheduled yet. But thank you. Coming up on March 2nd, another connection to Power Pop, the man who really, in my opinion, jump-started the Power Pop renaissance of the mid-'90s by publishing his fanzine, Yellow Pills, letting everybody out in the world know that, hey, there's others like us. There's others who love this music, and there's others who love to play this music. And I think that was an impetus for a lot of bands deciding to get together and do some power pop. We're talking about Mr. Jordan Oakes, publisher of Yellow Pills.
Right.
He's such a funny guy. It's going to be a very entertaining interview. I can guarantee you that. You guys will be laughing.
Well, sadly, I'm going to try to pop in, but that's the one night that I won't be able to be too involved because I'm doing PA announcing for state basketball
that's
playoffs.
Sure now. That's 100% now.
Yeah, it looks like it's 100%. But I'll be doing a doubleheader of girls and boys basketball that night, state playoffs. But I'm going to try to pop in when the noise isn't so crazy and say hi to Jordan.
Please do, yeah. So that'll be great. On March 9th, we have another icon, guitar player of, again, one of the most respected and loved power pop bands, the Smithereens. That would be Mr. Jim Babjack of the Smithereens on March 9th. March 16th is now Scott McCarl's label mate, as he's got a reissue of his album coming out. And again, a brilliant songwriter, wrote some hits for the Hollies and Manfred Mann and a few other people. Did an album where he essentially covered himself and and did his own hits and other songs. Still going strong, and we're going to be very glad to have him. Mr. Tony Hazard on March 16th.
That's awesome.
Yep. Then on March 23rd, as I like to call them, Pulchritudinous Pop. Just a real rockin' band fronted by three females, three very attractive females. I know women will say, well, why don't you talk to the men like that? Mainly because I'm not really attracted to them. You get a female host, she can talk about the men. I'm going to talk about these women. They are beautiful. But more importantly, they really do rock, and they write some very catchy songs, and we love them. Sly Boots, nice. New York band on March 23rd. Then March 30th, another icon, a drummer for Paul McCartney and then for Wings early on, played on Ram, on Wildlife, and also on the Ram On tribute album, the 50th anniversary that Fernando Perdomo put out. And I want to thank him for connecting us to Mr. Denny Sewell. Oh, there you go.
George.
Yes, I got to see them too a few times.
Anyway, Denny Sewell. Looking forward to Denny. Yep.
Denny, yeah, he's that's going to be a lot of fun. And then after that, we have two former Major League Baseball players, one of whom was also a musician. The first one is a guy who's has had some notoriety, mainly for flipping off the crowd while he was a member of the Yankees. But he was a great pitcher. Cy Young Award winner, won 20 games twice. And,
3-time All-Star.
Yep. And also a musician. And Stick Figure was his main band. There's several CDs out there. I'm starting to get into their stuff. I hadn't known about it until recently. And I mean, you were talking about the Smithereens. This guy is good friends with them, and you can see why while listening to Stick Figure. There's a lot of resemblance there. Anyway, we're talking about Mr. Black Jack McDowell.
Nice.
Going to be on April 6th. And then on April 13th, we're going to have another baseball player, not just a ball player, but an announcer for the New York Yankees and for other outlets. Really well-spoken guy, expresses himself a lot on Facebook. And, he's going to come at baseball from a different angle than Jack McDowell. So nothing wrong with having two baseball players in a row. Both Mark and I love baseball a lot. So this will be fun for us. We're talking about now on April 13th, Mr. Billy Sample.
Nice.
Outfielder for several teams and a really good one. Had a 273 lifetime average. Could play the field, could do it all. So we're going to be very glad to have him. And that's where we are right now. So
that's the next 7 weeks, and of course we are always got things in the fire.
Yes.
So as we say, if you haven't joined the Facebook group Material Issues, do that. Tell your friends about it, because what will happen is you'll get a little notification about what's coming up next week, so you can make a little calendar note to say, I got to watch this live. And if you've missed it, everything's on archive and over at YouTube on materialissues.com. All the archives of 40 shows now can be found there. So we do appreciate everybody tuning in and telling all your friends about it, because David and I have such a great time doing this. And tonight we are so appreciative of Scott Michael being here. Just a fantastic show, number 40. So, thanks a lot, everybody. Good.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. We couldn't do this without you. And please tell your friends. Let's get this audience really huge. And I look forward to this every Wednesday, and look forward to all the other ones that we'll be doing in the future. So, Mark, again, thank you very much for coming up with the idea and doing this with me, and the whole 9 yards.
Well, it's a blast, man. My absolute pleasure. David, have a great night. Stay happy, stay healthy. Love to Rena. Everybody out there, have a great evening. Happy, healthy as well. We will see you next week.
Absolutely. Take care. Have a good one.